Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com. I have posted the latest year zero updates. I'm going to do these for private road members and Patreon Plus members. We'll try to do them every day, probably five times a week. Let's shoot for it. And the second one's up yesterday. I did the first one. There's no time left. This one is an update. Face the change. It won't get any better. It's time. It is time to change your way of thinking about absolutely everything. You need to reevaluate everything that you think the future is going to be, because it's not. And there are certain things within the United States we have to fight for, and that's our freedom and our liberty and the things in the Constitution that made us so great. Right now, we have a problem. DOJ seeks emergency powers amid coronavirus pandemic. One of the requests of Congress would allow the department to petition a judge to indefinitely detain someone during an emergency. We cannot give up our freedoms because there's an emergency. I don't care if it's Trump doing it or Obama doing it. Does not matter. We will have nothing to fight for if our freedoms are taken away. We must fight this tooth and nail. Justice Department has quietly asked Congress for the ability to ask chief judges to detain people indefinitely without trial during emergencies, part of a push for new powers that comes as the coronavirus spreads throughout the United States. Documents reviewed by Politico detail the department's request to lawmakers on a host of topics, including the statute of limitations, asylum, and the way court hearings are conducted. Politico also reviewed and previously reported on documents seeking the authority to extend deadlines on merger reviews and prosecution. A Justice Department spokesman declined to comment. This kind of shit cannot go on, Mr. Trump. I don't care if you're working for the good guys. The moment you sacrifice our basic fundamental freedoms is the moment we lose our country. Do not let this happen, people. Petition your government. Be very aware. This is the time they steal all our rights. And we cannot allow that to happen, or we'll have nothing to be fighting for. Documents reviewed by Politico detail the department's request to lawmakers on a host of topics, including statute of limitations, asylum, blah, 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 blah. The move has tapped into a broader fear among civil liberties advocates and Donald Trump critics that the president will use a moment of crisis to push for controversial policy changes. Already, he has cited the pandemic as a reason for heightening border restrictions and restricting asylum claims. He also pushed for further tax cuts on the economy as the economy withers, arguing that it would soften the financial blow to Americans. Even without policy changes, Trump has vast emerging powers he could legally deploy right now and try to slow the coronavirus outbreak. I am a Trump supporter. I am not a lefty. But if Trump tries to take away our liberties, I will stand up and fight against him. I'm not a blind supporter, and don't tell me this, you got to trust the plan. I do not trust any plan that takes away my freedoms and liberties. You got it? Fight against it. All you guys trust the plan. Trust in your country first. Then you can trust any plan you want. The moment they start taking away our liberties and our freedom, we have no country to fight for. All right, that's my rant. And here we go. Just like the Fed opened up the fire, not the fire hose, but the fire hydrant. They opened up the fire hydrant. They're spewing money everywhere, including Germany. Here's what happens next. The debt brake finally breaks. Austere Germany to issue 356 billion euros in new debt, accounting to 10% of the GDP. So, including all the swap facilities that the Fed is lending to anybody who wants it, Germany is opening up its fire hydrants. Everybody is going to spray money all over the world. On the same day that Larry Kudlow hinted that the U.S. fiscal stimulus had grown to a size of $2 trillion, around 10% of GDP, Germans' fascination with the balanced budget, aka Black Zero, brought about by the country's bitter memories of Weimar hyperinflation, ended with a whimper when Angela Merkel announced Saturday that Germany would issue or guarantee debt amounting to £356 billion as part of a country's emergency response to fight the coronavirus. Welcome, Germany, to the world of unlimited money printing. If you give someone the power to print money, They will do it until they destroy the currency. That's what's happening in the United States right now. Germany is next. Japan already did it. China, I'm sure, will do it. Everybody and their mother will do it. All pretense of balancing any budget ever again is completely out the window. It will never happen again. And that's what Ruta wrote in the sand in the original Road to Ruta comic books before she replaced it with 9/11. She wrote a economic formula called On the Road to the Golden Age. On the Road to the Golden Age says print. How do you get from an unbacked fiat system to a gold-backed system? Print as much money as you can, soaking up all the benefits of free money. Build your roads, your bridges, your infrastructure, your houses, just like the United States did, just like everywhere in the world did, until you inflate it until it's gone. Inflate it to infinity. Every country in the world is doing exactly that, and they're not reporting the right numbers. The U.S. national debt is tried 100 times bigger. They're printing money and they're not telling anybody about it. Quadrillions. There is no limit on the amount of money spigot hits you can take. And we're seeing it. It's coming out in the open right now. This will not stop. Just wait till the next one. It'll be 1 trillion, and then 100 trillion, and then a quadrillion, and then 10 quadrillion, and then a Google, which is a number, right? Who is going to get absolutely destroyed in this coronavirus thing? Small businesses, the small restaurant. Restaurants barely make it anyway. Most if you want to be assured of failure, open a restaurant. Most people who open restaurants have no idea what it takes to run a restaurant and run it well. And most restaurants fail, and you know that, especially in the wrong location. But most restaurants fail. Most restaurants can't even last a month without having income come in. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Chris and Allie Lyons are now only doing takeout orders at the restaurant, Table 22 in Cartersville, Georgia, and have laid off staff and canceled many orders from suppliers. For small businesses, it's a virus chain reaction. When Table 20 closed its dining room in Cartersville, Georgia this week, the pain radiated out to a hydroponic farmer, a tablecloth supplier, and countless others. Allie and Chris Lyons, the owners of a popular farm-to-table restaurant called Table 20 in Cartersville, Georgia, have done the math. In 2 weeks, they expect to have just $6,000 in cash after covering payroll, insurance, and rent. The first coronavirus infections in the Cartersville area were confirmed on March 11th. Amid calls for social distancing and with sales plummeting, the couple on Monday laid off all but 2 of their dozen employees. They've asked their landlord lenders for relief. They have canceled orders on everything from linens to liquor. Each of those decisions may be felt far beyond Cartersville, a working-class community of 21,000 outside Atlanta, and helps show how the troubles of one small business can ripple through the U.S. economy as the virus brings commerce and capital to a halt. Laid off waitress Cassie Brazel is putting off her dream to buy a new house. A family farm where Table 20 buys most of its greens is left without orders. The restaurant's bank is losing revenue as it gives breaks to dozens of businesses. Its credit card processor in Arizona has frozen its hiring. A tech company in San Francisco is waiving fees for Table 20 and scores of other clients. Confirmed infections in the U.S. surged past 15,000 this week. It's over 25 now, I hear. I haven't looked, but I hear it's over 25,000. Bringing alarm to both Wall Street and Main Street. That will go to 1 million, 2 million, 4 million, and so on. As hospitals scrambles to handle patients, most everything is shutting down. Airlines have canceled thousands of flights. Schools are closed. Malls and auto factories are dark. Professional sports are suspended. The crisis from the economic slowdown is most acute for the smallest businesses, which tend to operate on thinner profit margins and with smaller cash reserves. They employ about 60 million Americans, or nearly half the private workforce. With fewer dollars coming in, small businesses have hard decisions to make. Blah, blah, blah. You've heard these stories. They're heartbreaking, and these businesses are going out of business. What about pensions? The pension problem was already a gigantic problem, and now it's non-existent. The pension, any underwater pension plan, has just seen a third of its portfolio wiped clean. Think about that. Nothing is surviving this. Nothing. And who's taking it the worst? The banks. The banks. Why? Because they use leverage. Fractional reserve. For every dollar they bring in, they lend out 10. So every dollar they lose 10. They are done. They won't make it out the quarter. Without a massive bailout, they got to walk in front of Congress, and Jamie Dimon has to sit there and say, you have to bail us out again. And I don't think it's going to happen. It's ugly. It's getting worse and worse and worse by the minute. By the minute. So hang in there. Anyway, most important interviews you guys need to watch. Parts 1 through 3, Year Zero interviews with Cliff High that I had. Very top, free on the road to Ruta. Sign up for the public road updates. Put your name on the left with your email. And then you want to learn what Ruta is, where that all came from. There's a video right here, Discovering the Road to Ruta, and then Golding Oldies to the Crypto Future that explains how the Federal Reserve was created, the real reason. It wasn't the Jekyll Island story. That was part of it, but that wasn't why. It was the gold in the Grand Canyon. Check that out and check out how important cryptos will be in your future. It's Bix. I'll talk to you later.